Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most underrated FNAF fan games released this year. From incredible hidden gems that were overshadowed by bigger launches, to projects that quietly delivered amazing experiences, these are games that deserve far more attention than they received. Some of these could easily become future fan game classics, so let's dive into them. If there's one thing about the Five Nights at Freddy's lore that I never liked, it was the fact that the games expected you to be able to connect the dots of the story, even though Scott Cawthon himself admitted that he never really knew where it was going. And it's because of that we have a game series with a lore so broken and confusing that nobody really knows what's going on. However, some fan game devs like to take it upon themselves to connect those dots for us and throw their own unique spin on the games. And the game we'll be talking about today is no different. The game we're going to be looking at is called Five Nights at Freddy's: The Flip Side, and I honestly feel like it explains some of the official game's lore's biggest plot holes perfectly, while also offering an incredibly fun gameplay loop. Grab a snack and get ready as we dive into the world of FNAF: The Flip Side.
Hello, Frank? It's me, Henry. Listen, I know you don't work with us anymore, but I really need some help. And I wasn't sure who else to call. We're supposed to test some prototypes for a client, but you know how things are at MCM these days. We're overloaded with projects. If you're available, could you come to Fredbear's? The testing will take place there. I'll make sure they leave the front door open for you. Once you get there, give me a call. There should be a phone in the storage room. Oh, and before you ask, yes, I'll make sure you'll be paid handsomely for this. All right, Frank, I'll be waiting for you.
So there we go. We've got our motive for almost dying for the next 6 nights, and FNAF: The Flip Side finally begins. There was a lot of hype for this game, so I'm ready to get right into it. We open to a free roam section of the game where we're free to wander around pretty much the entire building we're about to sit our hairy, smelly, sweaty, unwashed rumps in for the next 6 days. If we walk into the backstage area, we'll get access to something this game calls the Hand. This can be used to listen to audio logs that get added every night, so we should make sure we're always going to check on them. The audio log on night 1 goes as follows.
Come on, turn on. Oh my god, finally. This is the 5th time I've been called out here. Last week we got these new hand terminals from MCM. William had me install one backstage. I told him very clearly that thing pulls nearly 80% load if it's not on a dedicated circuit. Did we upgrade the wiring? No. Now the diner loses power 10 times a day, and somehow it's my fault. They keep telling me to replace the diodes in the fuse box. It's not the damn diodes. But he won't listen. He never listens. He just keeps telling me to fix it. You can't fix stupidity, William. It's failing the exact same way it's supposed to. Yeah, that's it. End log.
I'm on the same page as Daniel here. This is the exact type of bullshit you would expect a stupid, out-of-touch old boss to say to you. Moving on, there are also some collectibles we're told to find. If you couldn't guess, these are needed for the true ending of the game, so make sure you're picking them up unless you want the bad ending for some reason. I would tell you where these bobbleheads are located, however, it seems to be completely random. There was one time it was on the stage, but apparently that was just a bug and it wasn't supposed to happen. So I really have no idea. Just go find them. There's no threats during these sections, so you can take all the time you need. All right, with that out of the way, we can finally jump right into the night sections. And what's a better thing to start talking about aside from the tools at our disposal, like I also like to do at the beginning of these videos? I'm just gonna talk about the camera system because that's literally all that's relevant on this night. It's a camera system, that's really it. The buttons are on the right side of the screen instead of being on a map, so that's pretty cool, I suppose. And on one of the cameras, you can see a window to the street where you can actually watch cars pass by, which I do think is super cool. Really puts you into the immersion that, yes, this is a real place and there are people around. It's a really good way of making you feel more alone, knowing there are people outside of the building who could help you, yet nobody is going to. It's a super creepy thing to think about. If we look at the stage, we can see that the animatronics seem to be characters you can see in the final section of Secret of the Mimic, which I do think is actually super cool. I have yet to see a game that uses those specific characters together, so this could be fun. Oh yeah, I should also probably mention that this game is made by Toaster Dev, the same guy that made FNAF Legacy, and it was also worked on a bunch by Weirdo Speed, another very popular FNAF YouTuber and game dev, so you already know this game is about to be crazy. Now, moving on to the first threat this game and night introduces, that being Fredbear 2.0. I'm just gonna call him Fredbear since that's a lot less typing. Fredbear does not have a lot of places to go before reaching your office. He starts in camera 6 before moving to camera 8, -1. No, I'm not saying it. Fuck you. Then he goes to camera 5, which if you're not looking at your camera while he goes from 7 to 5, you can actually see him walking across the doorway to your office, which is just so fucking cool. I love it when games do shit like this. Holy fuck, I'm gonna skeet everywhere. Anyways, from there he will walk back across the doorway and appear to the left of you. From here, you will enter a quick time minigame that you will need to complete to save your life. This is explained as like some programming that you're doing to Fredbear or something. I don't really know. We don't even lay our hands on him. You will have to use WASD for this minigame. When he enters your office, a timer will appear along with one of the letters. You will have to press through multiple of the letters before the timer runs out or he eats your butt. If you ever mess up a key press, you don't die immediately, but the timer will drop by a few seconds, making it all the more likely it'll eat your butt. But if you can defend yourself from him, he'll teleport back to camera 6 and the cycle will repeat itself. I guess I should also mention that when he's making his way to your office, your cameras will turn yellow with a message telling you that Fredbear is coming. But you shouldn't really need that since you'll be able to hear his loud ass clanker feet making their way towards you. But with that, this night is easy and we can move on to the first post-night minigame. Hooray! This post-night minigame is very annoying, I can't even lie, and for a reason that really shouldn't even be apparent, yet apparent it is. The goal of this minigame is to repair Fredbear. The way we do so is both easy, yet doesn't really make any sense. We'll have to pull up our maintenance monitor and drag several shapes into their respective places. You know that square hole game everybody had as a kid? Yeah, it's that. Why the fuck does this fix Fredbear? I literally have no idea at all. Every time you successfully drag a shape, your progress will increase by 2%. Get it to 100 and you complete this minigame. However, you may have noticed I haven't complained about anything yet, which just can't be the case. Fredbear will randomly attack you throughout this minigame. Dealing with him is simple. When he attacks, he automatically pulls your monitor down, and all you have to do is quickly boop his nose to reset him. Apparently, his nose is a button that resets his facial recognition. Sure, buddy. Just say you took inspiration from FNAF shitpost. It's okay to admit it. I know, I'm a genius. Now, that's not a problem. No. The problem is these stupid fucking shapes. You would think that the shape at the top that you have to drag would change each time you drag the shape and drop it where it needs to go. But no, that would make too much sense. Instead, what really happens is that the shape will randomly change every 1.5 seconds, regardless of whether you're holding it or not. So you could be just about to drop the square into the square hole, and all of a sudden it turns into a fucking rhombocosydodecahedron at the last second, and now you lose. And what does losing mean? Well, it drops your progress by 20%, and each shape only gives you 2%. Are you fucking me in my dick hole right now? You've got to be kidding me. That's so rape. Oh yeah, and since I'm saying semi-offensive words, I might as well add another one to the list. I saw a guy in my comments recently who timestamped the first time I said the dreaded R word in my video. My guess is they're doing this in a piss-poor attempt to be passive-aggressive, so here, this one's just for you, retard. Moving on to night 2. Night 2 begins with a free roam section. Of course, we could just start the night, but why do that when we could listen to an audio log instead? Yippee!
Hello? Is this thing on? Finally! I need to get this on record, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind. I've had to clean out the fridge in the kitchen again. This is the 5th time this week. The 5th! Isn't this supposed to be the janitor's responsibility, or maintenance, or literally anyone who isn't the head chef? Because last I checked, I was hired to cook food. Yet here I am wondering how this place is still legally allowed to operate. And the fridge? Oh my god, the fridge. I don't even know where they dug this thing up, but it's like it was designed to ruin food. Milk spoils in 2 days. It's not even refrigeration, it's practically accelerated decomposition. I swear it'd be safer leaving the food out on the counter. And don't even get me started on management. William especially. Every time I bring this up, he waves it off like it's nothing. We'll look into it. Yeah, sure. You've been looking into it for months. We've poisoned what? 5 customers because of it? 5! Yeah, I can't do it anymore. I quit.
Once again, just adding to the conclusion that William is an out-of-touch boss. Who would have thought? It's not like he does really questionable weird shit like all the time. That would be absurd. Oh yeah, grab a bobblehead wherever the fuck it is, and we can jump into the night section. Night 2 introduces one new threat, that being Spring Bonnie 2.0, who, of course, I will just be calling Spring Bonnie since that's easier. And Spring Bonnie also isn't too big of an issue, but could easily become a problem if you let him get out of hand. Occasionally, Bonnie will move into what I will call his attack mode. When he enters attack mode, he will make a sound cue and move from camera 6 to camera 8, then to 7, followed by 6, and finally into camera 3. From there, he'll just fucking kill you. While you can't put Bonnie back on stage, you can move him away from you, and how you do so is probably exactly what you expected. Audio lures. Only certain cameras in the building actually have places that can use audio, and thankfully, unlike most games that have audio lures, this one doesn't have a certain amount, and you can spam them as much as you'd like. As you would expect, drag Bonnie around the cameras with this audio lure to prevent him from going cave diving in your ass and mining the rock hard diamond crusty shit trapped between your buns because you don't wipe properly. And he really shouldn't be a problem. Again, you can't get him back on stage, but you can pretty easily keep him in camera 8. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing else new is added on this night, and Bonnie doesn't add too much of an issue in combination with Freddy. However, there is one more thing I want to mention before moving on. At 5 a.m. every night, the AI of all active animatronics will increase. Just a fun way of saying fuck you in the last minute of the night. Amazing. On to the Night 2 post-night minigame, which is nowhere near as frustrating as the first. This time we're fixing Spring Bonnie, and the pattern for completing it is the same. The only difference is the minigame itself on the monitor, and how to deal with Bonnie. Dealing with him is simple. When he attacks, just use the speaker to play music and he'll calm down. Now for the minigame, which I actually really like. A small rectangle will bounce back and forth across the screen. In the center of the screen, you'll see a little bar. As the moving rectangle passes over the bar, you'll have to press space. For each successful press you make, you'll gain 2 to 4% progress at random, and the rectangle will start moving a little faster. If you ever miss a press, you'll only lose 5% power, so clearly they were out of their fucking minds when they designed the first minigame, but who knows. Anyways, one more thing I should mention is that after each minigame, we get a number for a code that we can type into the hand unit during the free roam sections. So yeah, just make sure you're writing those down. Night 3 once again starts with a free roam section, so let's grab that random bobblehead and listen to the audio log.
Okay, it's recording. Quick note for management, since apparently nobody believes me. That little vacuum robot we got from MCM, the Cleanovac, yeah, it's not really helping. Every party, some kid grabs it and shoves it somewhere disgusting. Trash cans, sinks. Today, it was in the toilet. The toilet! I'm the one who fishes it out with gloves, and I'm the one who has to clean it, dry it, fix it. Every single time. It's a vacuum, not a toy. If I find it in the toilet one more time, I'm not saving it. I'm letting it die, and I'm telling William it was water damage. Yeah, that's all. Bye.
In case you guys were interested and couldn't tell, that character was played by me, and the name they gave that character is incredibly clever, being a triple entendre. Love you guys. Anyways, yeah, I find it funny how I talk about how much I hate kids in my videos, and then I get to play a character in a game who yells at kids. Perfect for me. Let's move on to the night section. Night 3 introduces one new threat, that being Monty, who apparently wasn't supposed to be able to move, but yet he does, so fucking awesome. I just love that so much. Monty is pretty easy overall, and he also introduces a new mechanic, that being the curtain directly in front of you which you are able to hold closed. This will obviously be how you defend yourself from him. When Monty goes into attack mode, he will make a loud sound cue and move into camera 3. Inside of camera 3, he will move through 3 phases like Foxy before moving to your doorway. Something very weird about him is, unlike other characters, where when they move in the cameras briefly flicker to cover up the movement, Monty's movements don't do this, so you just kind of awkwardly watch him snap into place, which just feels really weird. Once Monty jumps in front of your doorway, just hold the curtain closed until he leaves. Henry, who, by the way, is the guy on the phone at the beginning of each night, tells us that we should really be keeping an eye on him once he leaves the stage, which would make me think that, like Foxy, watching him on the cameras will stall him. However, as you'll find out, it actually doesn't do that at all. Monty doesn't make the night a whole lot more stressful quite yet, as when Monty enters your doorway, he makes a really obvious sound cue, so you don't really need to watch him on the cameras at all. The best thing to do at this point is sit on camera 8 to watch for Bonnie, and only ever pull down the monitor when getting attacked by Monty or Fredbear. Both Fredbear and Monty can attack you at the same time, but luckily the devs thought of this and made it not complete RNG aids, because if Fredbear attacks while Monty is at the curtain, then the curtains won't close and you'll be safe to deal with Fredbear. And if Monty arrives during Fredbear's attack, then you can quickly close the curtains and they'll stay closed throughout the attacks. Thank you so much, you two. I could give you a kiss on the mouth for real. Anyways, time to move on to the post-night 3 minigame. And of course, with Monty being introduced, he is who we're fixing on this night. Once again, the only changes are the minigame and how to defend yourself. On the bottom shelf in the room we're in, there will be a mask. And surprise, surprise, that's what you put on when Monty starts dworking in your face. The minigame is honestly really disappointing, as it's just the Funtime Freddy minigame from Sister Location, except a million times less fucking AIDS. Just hold the buttons to increase the percentage until you beat the night. Congrats, this one was boring as fuck. Let's move on to night 4. Free roam time! Grab a bobblehead and let's take a listen.
Hello? Okay, I think it's working. These hand terminals are so buggy. So I just started working here at Fredbear's, first day and all that, and honestly it's kinda nice. It's cozy even. The place has that old school charm, it smells like pizza grease and cheap cleaner, but in a weird way it works. Only one tiny issue. Who the hell picked the animatronic names? Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. Like, seriously, that's what we're going with? Why Spring Bonnie and then just Fredbear? Why isn't it Spring Bear? Or Spring Freddy? Or literally anything else that matches? It sounds like 2 completely different people named them on opposite sides of the room, and nobody bothered to discuss it further. Hey, what should we call the rabbit? Spring Bunny? Cool. And the bear? Fredbear. It makes 0 sense. And it bugs me. Way more than it should. I can't explain why. Every time I say the names out loud, it just sounds like the branding department gave up halfway through. That's about it. See ya.
Honestly, bro, reasonable crash out. Seems like the type of random shit I would complain about for filler in one of these videos, so I appreciate you doing it for me. Oh yeah, and for some reason we get another log on this night too.
Is this thing on? Yeah? Okay, good. I couldn't find a complaint box anywhere, so I figure this is the only way those schmucks at corporate might actually listen. I got hired to handle plumbing and a few other bits of general maintenance around the joint roughly, 5 to 6 months ago. Might I say you people suck at maintaining a building. I can't walk 2 steps in this place without finding a new leak I gotta fix. Leaky pipes, leaky roof, leaky suits. Oh, wait. I'm not supposed to talk about that. Wait, hold on! How come this place is held together with scotch tape and prayers, yet somehow you have enough budget to pay me 16 crap loads to keep my yap shut about what I saw in the back room? You people disgust me, by the way. Oh, I guess I'm not one to talk. I took your blood money, after all. And you ain't getting it back. My money now, suckers! Maybe having all that on the record ain't the smartest idea. How do I delete this? Maybe this button.
So, this is probably my favorite log throughout the entire game. Just so goofy, yet explains some very interesting information. Probably the most important info we've got so far throughout the entire game. I also love the ending of the tape. It's just the right amount of retarded to make me giggle a little bit. Anyways, on to the night section. I sure hope the most enraging character of all time doesn't activate. Spoiler alert, the most enraging character of all time activates. Night 4 introduces a character named Bub. Once Bub moves, he will enter either camera 4 or camera 5. Something about these cameras you'll notice is that you can close vents on these cameras. From what Henry explains in the phone calls, it sounds like Edwin may have specifically designed Bub to crawl into vents for a currently unknown reason. Now, all you have to do for Bub sounds pretty easy. When he attacks, he makes a sound cue in your left or right ear. All you have to do is close the respective vent on that side of the cameras and he won't be able to get to you. Luckily, if you're being attacked by Monty or Fredbear, Bub will not be able to move. Period. These devs had every opportunity to make Bub the most frustrating character from any FNAF game ever, and they didn't do it. And I'm forever grateful for that. I would literally eat the lice out of their hair if they had lice. Now, I said Bub was frustrating, but why is that the case? He doesn't sound too bad. Well, where it comes from is just his sheer speed, as Bub is incredibly fast and will bounce between both vent rooms and crawl into the vents at actual light speed. It's insane how much hops this guy has. It's actually pretty impressive. As long as you're keeping an eye on him, this night isn't too much different. Of course, this brings up the problem of not being able to watch Bonnie, but overall, with enough practice, this night really shouldn't be too bad. On to the post-night minigame, and this one is by far more complex than any other minigame we've seen so far. Doesn't really mean it's hard per se, but there is a lot more focusing you have to do. The way you complete this minigame is another boring hold the button minigame until you reach 100%. However, what you need to do alongside that is where this one gets interesting. When Bub attacks you, all you have to do is shock him, as during this night you actually get the ability to do that. You also get access to an additional monitor this time around that acts kind of like a FNAF 3 repair panel. In it, you have to keep Bub's integrity charged and continuously charge your shock button or else it won't work. The lower Bub's integrity is, the more often he'll attack, and of course the more often he attacks, the less power your shocker is going to have. The best strategy I found was every 10% of progress I made, charge the generator and shocker a little bit. And of course, deal with Bub whenever he decides to have a seizure directly in front of you. But with that, we get another piece of the code and we can move on to night 5. Of course, night 5 starts with a free roam section, so let's listen to that audio log.
Hi, I'm John Fazbear. If you're listening to this log, that means that a piece of licensed Fazbear Entertainment art made by you isn't up to our company standard. Don't fret, however. As the lead director of the marketing department here at Fredbear's, my job is to teach and guide you through the process of making promotional material that is suitable for our wonderful customers. Give me a moment. Samantha, where is my coffee, goddammit? I asked you 15 minutes ago! What do I pay you for, woman? Sorry about that. We're gonna have to cut that one out. As I was saying, the purpose of this log series is to help in making your art pieces compliant with our company values. There's my coffee. Thank you so much, Samantha. You truly are the backbone of this company. Sorry, fellas. She's married to Fazbear Entertainment. Where was I? Right. Refusal or failure to comply with our strict company marketing policy will result in job termination, military discharge, legal action, loss of company benefits, impounding of vehicle, loss of hearing, degenerative bone disease, beheading.
Yelling over coffee is crazy, bro. Moving on, there is actually a final audio log from William Afton. However, as you can probably tell, yeah, we're not gonna be able to listen to this one because it's a bit broken. I'd be willing to bet that William did something to the hand unit so that nobody could listen to whatever it is he said. Also, now is the time you'd be able to put in the password you've been piecing together throughout the nights. I have no idea if this code is random per game, but I'd be willing to bet it probably is. After entering in the password, we see blueprints of the Mimic, along with an audio log from Edwin himself. It goes as follows.
Will, hey, the mascots have been fully upgraded. You won't have to worry about wearing those ever again. Unless you really want to, anyway. Henry will bring them in Saturday morning. I don't want to brag, but I think I might have struck gold with this one. I won't say too much just yet, but this could put MCM on the map as the greatest entertainment and carnival technology company in the country. My inventions are going to be everywhere, and you wanted me to sell the factory. Ha! Good one, Will.
Anyways, with that out of the way, we can actually move on to the night section, which this time around doesn't introduce any new threats and is just a much harder version of Night 4. Bub's speed somehow increases even more, having him bolt to your vents about every 10 seconds. I truly think the biggest problem on this night is 100% Bonnie. With how much Bub attacks and how frequently Fredbear and Monty attack, it is very likely Bonnie will slip away from you, so really be on your A game. The most interesting thing about this night is the phone call. We hear Henry talking about creating springlock suits as opposed to buying a bunch of mimic prototypes, but Edwin apparently had no interest in any of it, so he decided to build it himself and bring it straight to William, and well, we all know how that turned out. Generally, just keep your cool and focus on this night. Honestly, it isn't too terrible in comparison to some of the other Night 5s we've covered on this channel. After completing Night 5 is where this game splits into two endings depending on whether or not you've collected all the bobbleheads in the pre-Night Free Roam sections. If you at any point missed one, you just get this piss-poor cutscene before the game ends.
Hey, Frank. It's me again. I've backed everything up and I'm headed back to the factory now. I'll take a look at your notes and see what we can improve. Let me know when you get the paycheck, all right? Okay, Frank. Talk to you soon.
Now, that's fucking boring. What we care about is the true ending. What happens if we did gather all of the bobbleheads? Well, we get access to Night 6, so let's get going. During the free roam section of Night 5, we have an interesting task, that being to place some mascots on stage. These being a much fatter version of Freddy and a Spring Bonnie that really just kind of looks like Glitch Trap. If you're wondering why we're doing this, it's actually because during this night, we're actually playing as Henry himself, as he did say he needed to head to the pizzeria to put the new mascots on stage. So once we enter the night section, we get this phone call.
Hello?
Hello, Henry. It's William. Listen, I have to check on the new building soon, so I'll be there in a few hours. Please wait for me. I need to talk to you about something important.
With all due respect, sir, I don't think I can wait that long. I was only supposed to take the prototypes and bring in the new mascots. There are other matters at the factory that need my attention.
Well, work always comes first, doesn't it? I respect that. Then I'll get straight to the point, I suppose. I need you to convince Edwin to sell me the factory.
The factory? Sir, I don't think I understand.
Listen, Henry. Murray's will collapse within a few years if someone doesn't step in. Edwin may be a brilliant creator, but he's a matter of business. I am. Under my leadership, the company wouldn't just survive. It would flourish. More contracts, more reliable employees, and more time for him to focus on his creations. However, if I were to speak to Edwin myself, he'd decline my offer immediately. You know him. He's stubborn. Stubborn just like his old man. He believes he can handle everything, but he's only dragging the company further down. Help me save the factory, Henry. The workers need their jobs. The world needs innovation. But that will only happen if I'm in charge.
I don't think that's possible, sir. It's all he has left of his father. I don't believe he'd give it up so easily. Not to mention Fiona.
I can handle Fiona. Reaching Edwin is the difficult part. But I have faith in you, Henry. You're more capable than you realize. I've seen your dedication. I've seen your abilities. You're meant for more than what MCM is offering you. Do this for me, and the management position of the franchise location is yours.
Sir,
Think about it, Henry.
And with that crazy call, Night 6 begins, acting as this game's boss fight night. Except this time there's 2 bosses instead of only 1. Each character takes the role of 2 of the previous animatronics we've seen, so let's start by talking about the least interesting of the 2, Freddy. Freddy takes the place of Fredbear and Monty. Pretty simple to understand. He can pick either of their attacks at random and then just do them. Nothing very interesting to mention here except for the fact that he's fat as holy hell. Spring Bonnie is where this night gets a bit interesting. So I said both characters take the roles of 2 of the previous characters, but I fucking lied. He only takes the role of Bub. However, he does change how Bub's attack works. During this night, for some reason, you lose access to the ability of closing your right vent. Instead, that Freddy mask that you've seen on your desk this entire game is finally going to be put to use. If you hear Spring Bonnie attack the left vent, same as Bub, just close the vent. However, if he attacks the right side, you will have to quickly put your mask on. And I mean like really fast. It is fucking crazy how fast this rabbit is. Now here's the crazy part. Both Freddy and Spring Bonnie can attack you at the same time. So I recommend that every time you pull your camera down, you put your mask on, since you can deal with Freddy while it's on, and if Spring Bonnie decides to attack at the same time, you're screwed. And really, the only camera you need to be watching throughout this night is the left vent camera to be checking for Spring Bonnie, because even though he makes a sound cue like Bub, he is way fucking faster. But if you can keep yourself on your toes all night, you'll complete Night 6 and get this final cutscene. So, the true ending shows the aftermath and how William Afton completely took over the industry, killing Fiona in a fire during Fall Fest and taking over Edwin's company with him mysteriously going missing. At the end of the day, William got what he wanted. But of course, we all know what happens next in the fallout of Henry and Afton, but that's a story for another day. But with that, that is all Five Nights at Freddy's The Flip Side has to offer. And holy shit, did I love it. Overall, I think The Flip Side is an amazing take on the FNAF lore and does an amazing job connecting some of the dots from the main game. The game looks super cool, the animations are incredible, and the gameplay loop is just the right amount of challenging to both not be mind-numbing and not be ass-hair-rippingly difficult. And I would totally recommend it. Oh yeah, and I voice acted in it, so bonus points there. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually just completely mid? Let me know in the comments below. In my Freddy and the Gang video, I asked you guys what series or game you'd like to see me recover and why. And my favorite answer was everybody who said the Wario's series. Trust me, a big Wario's video is on the way. It's just going to take me a very long time to write. Unknown FNAF fan games. Five Nights at Freddy's games that not many people have heard about. Obviously, there are plenty of these. This series has been around for almost 12 years, and the fan game community hasn't slowed down one bit on new releases. I personally love looking at random FNAF fan games in my personal time and finding unpopular ones that might be hidden gems. And a few months ago, I received an email from a dev with an early build of their game. I played it and thought it looked interesting, and recently I found out the full version was released. This game in question is called Jackie's Forest, a very interesting FNAF game to say the least, and that's all I'm going to say about it here. Stick around because I have my fair share of things to say about this specimen of a project. So let's waste no more time and dive into the world of Jackie's Forest. All right, where should we start? If you said anything except night 1 to that question, then I hate to break it to you, you might be just a little bit brain dead, but that's okay. I'm here to help you through this process. So we're going to be starting with night 1. Something I really like about Jackie's Forest is that while the night sections are usually incredibly easy, each of them are completely different. So there's going to be something new to do each night. So developing a strategy is pretty much impossible. So with that out of the way, let's move on to talking about night 1, the threats we have to deal with it inside, and of course, the tools at our disposal. Personally, my favorite part of these videos is talking about the tools at our disposal, and that's funny because I'm straight up lying to you, cuh. Anyways, in the first night section, we're actually in the office. Surprisingly, we actually don't have any cameras, which I'm gonna be honest, kind of makes this entire section really boring. But please, don't click off the video. I promise this game is interesting. I wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't. On the computer in front of us, we're able to look through our files and access a sound system that goes around the entire building. I'm willing to bet you're able to figure out what that means, but if not, allow me to explain it to you. Before I can explain it to you, however, I do need to talk about the first threat that this night introduces, Maurice. And no, not the cool guy from Madagascar. Unfortunately, it's just a disgusting fucking pig-ass, fuck-ass skunk. This motherfucker right here really likes the sound of children. So while most people dress up as monsters for Halloween, Maurice has been dressing up as Jared Fogle. So I guess he also dressed up as a monster, but it's like a little bit different because, like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Maurice will slowly make his way to your office. Shining your flashlight on the door in front of you when he gets close will reveal his rapist homo thug black boy face.
Don't be filming me, brother. You got your rapist homo thug black boys over there.
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh. All you have to do when you see him is play a sound from another room in your control panel to lure him away. However, this is where I have to talk about a truly disturbing and butthole-ripping mechanic this character has. Do you guys remember the dreaded 1 in 7 from FNAF 3 with Springtrap? Yeah? The mechanic that gives Springtrap a 1 in 7 chance to just ignore the audio lure? Yeah, well, Maurice has that too. Except this time around, instead of 1 in 7, it's borderline 1 in 2. Because this motherfucker does not move a goddamn inch, and I'm sick of it. The dev really thought, I know how I can make this character work. How about I make his entire mechanic just spamming a button until the player flips heads on a coin flip? Fuck him. But whatever. Once you eventually get lucky enough, Maurice will be dragged away. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed, that is not the only character active on this night, because if it was, this would easily be one of the most piss-poor sections from any FNAF game I've ever covered on this channel. So, who's the other little gooner we have to deal with tonight? Well, that would be Jackie, the character from the title of the game. You know, I always thought it would be pretty funny to make a FNAF game called Five Nights at whatever the fuck the name I choose is, and then never add a character with that name. Like, imagine Five Nights at Ronald's, but there's never a character named Ronald in the game. I don't know, maybe my sense of humor is just retarded, but I think that would be really funny. Anyway. Anyways, moving on to what Jackie actually does. Jackie's goal is to attack you via the window on your left. You can flash your flashlight to that window to check if Jackie is there. However, Jackie will also just make a fuck ton of noise whenever she moves. Once Jackie gets too close for comfort, all you have to do is turn the power to your office off until you hear her leave. And then you're Bing chilling, which is a quote from Martin Luther King, I'm pretty sure. But one last thing to talk about is the fact that this night is not time-based and is instead task-based. So you know what that means? No actual tasks have to be done. You really just have to click a button and wait for a loading bar to fill up and then click another button. So it's really just fucking time-based with a task-based blanket tossed over it. But once you finish the waiting simulator, night 1 will come to a close. But instead of just moving on to night 2, we instead get to talk about a post-night minigame because this game has those too. And trust me, the thought of doing a post-night minigame definitely does not make me want to put a hamster in a sock and start whipping it around like a mace. In this minigame, we need to help a squirrel pack food for a picnic. Seems pretty simple, and simple it is. Our first options for food are a piece of cheese or a fucking boot. Let's think about that, you stupid retarded ass squirrel. Have you ever eaten a boot? No, those go on your fucking feet. Next, she asks us what we can eat with the cheese, and our options are crackers or a fucking broken CD. Dumb bitch. Why the fuck? Dumb bitch. Why the fuck do you even have a CD that's broken? What could possibly be the point of keeping something like that in your house, Porter? Throw it away, trailer trash. Next up, we've got to add some fruit. So she asks us what kind of apple we'd like to bring to the picnic. Except instead of the options being Honeycrisp, Granny Smith, Gala, or whatever the fuck, the options are apple or apple core. Jesus Christ, bimbo bitch. An apple core? That was on your list of things to possibly bring? You're wasting my time asking me these dumbass questions. For fuck's sake, what's the next question? Let's just fucking get this over with. Next, we have to bring some dessert, and our options are chocolate or a fucking battery. I bet these bitches aren't even charged either. Just some dead ass batteries for us to shove up our ass. No, we're not eating batteries. Are you a baby? A stupid drooling baby? These questions are so simple, for God's sake. Next up, we get to choose a drink. And the options are an orange juice box or unlabeled broken ass bottle with who the fuck knows what in it. I'm just done, guys. This is making my head hurt. No fucking shit, we're gonna take the juice, you dumb bitch! I swear to God, intelligence is chasing this squirrel, but she's just so much faster. Hopefully, she doesn't ask another retarded question, because just like Kanye, I don't like retarded questions.
What? Please, next question. Please don't ask me any retarded questions.
Now, where should we pour our drink?
Are we serious right now? Are we actually so dead ass in this moment? Why the fuck would we pour the orange juice into some fuck ass rusty can with sepsis on it or some shit? And why would we pour it into the normal looking mug anyways? It was already in a fucking box with a straw. Guys, Sandy Cheeks has gotten a big downgrade. I hate this squirrel. But we have one last question. Please, don't be something stupid.
Now the most important part. What is the core of all life forms?
Oh. A computer chip or a pulsating brain. I don't really know why the brain is pulsating. They don't really do that. It's not a heart. But I guess I'll be picking that one. Cool. Anyways, then we go to the door to see our friends. But before we can leave, she says this.
Oh, silly me. How could I forget? We're never getting out of here.
So we're never allowed to leave the house. I'm stuck with this brain-dead rodent for the rest of time. Aye, gang. Time to blow my shit clean off. But snapping back to reality, we do see a strange figure in the window. Not sure who that could be, but I'm going to take a guess it's probably this game's antagonist. With the minigame out of the way, we're safe to move on to night 2. With night 2 coming along, we appear to be in a new location. This time around being the maintenance room. Immediately, you'll notice your mother sitting on the table in front of us. Thank God that thing is made out of the incredibly strong material it is, because if it wasn't, you know damn well that bitch would have snapped in the middle like a twig. Anyways, we'll start talking about her in a second. To start, the way we complete this section is just by shredding a bunch of paper using the shredder in front of us. It's literally just another click and wait task-based mechanic, so really just a waiting game. You'll see in the top corner that we have 10 pages to shred. There are 2 characters attacking us this night, just like previously. However, before we talk about them, I want to talk about the fact that your shredder can jam. And if it does, all you have to do is slap it like I do to my kids when they talk a little bit too loud, and it'll go back to working as usual. Next, we have the wall behind us, which has a thermostat on it. Throughout the night, there will be several instances where you will need to change the temperature. Why do we have to do this? I have no fucking idea. Just accept it and do it, you little piglet. If you don't keep the temperature in the right spot, then you'll either die of a heat stroke or get hypothermia and die. Either way, you're dead, so just keep it at a crisp digit. Now we can move on to talking about the characters we have to deal with on this night. And of course, we'll talk about the beastly woman that is your mother first. What she does is incredibly simple. Occasionally, she'll look up at you like she thinks you're the waiter at the restaurant bringing her slop over. All you have to do is stare at her until she snaps out of it, and then you can continue doing what you were doing. Notice how your mom doesn't get up off the table either? That's probably because it's incredibly difficult for her to lift her cankles up. First world problems, am I right? The only other threat on this night is Maurice. Maurice will try to sneak up on you through the door in front of you. Apparently, apparently we're not allowed to just keep the fucking door closed, so we'll have to hold it closed ourselves. Maurice is very quiet, so you'll have to check the door constantly to listen for him. If you hear him there, just hold the door closed and eventually he'll leave and you can go back to doing what you were doing. After shredding all 10 pieces of paper, night 2 will be completed and we can move on to the next post-night minigame, which hopefully this time will not make me want to nya paka and then do something with a train. My Russian homies know what I'm talking about. Come on, high five, hands up. Yeah, come here, bring it in right now. Come close. No. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. All right, so this minigame is just nearly as infuriating as the last one is, but I'm going to try to hold my tongue for as long as I can. In this minigame, we have to help the skunk that looks like a wolf set up a tent. So of course, the first step to setting up a tent is picking the biggest bag of marshmallows we see. Literally, what the fuck is this? You don't need marshmallows to set up a tent, you dirty slut. After picking the biggest bag of marshmallows for the skunk and his fat fuck friends, miraculously the poles for the tent appear. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big camper myself, but I'm pretty confident that that is not what the poles of a tent look like. Next, we have to pick out enough sleeping bags for everyone that will be sleeping in the tent. All right, yes, that makes sense. Finally, something here that doesn't piss me off. And when we select the correct number, somehow the tarp is placed over the tent instead of the sleeping bags appearing. Fantastic. This makes so much sense and totally isn't about to make a blood vessel in my eye explode. Next, we need to pick a super long rope. Now, at first, I thought we would use these ropes to connect the stakes that we're going to put in the ground. But instead of that, after selecting the longest rope, we just put the stakes in the ground and just punch that rope into the fucking woods or something, because as you can see, they're nowhere to be found. After we finish the tent, all we have to do is wait for the other people to arrive. Except while we're doing that, it appears that Maurice is hit by a fucking semi or something. I have no idea. That's what it sounds like, but we don't really see anything happen. Just this disgusting render of him staring at us. But with that, we can move on to night 3. On night 3, we're stationed backstage. Once again, we do have 2 threats to deal with throughout this section, and a task-based minigame that's just clicking and waiting once again. So let's talk about that first. We're tasked this night with deleting show stage sequences from, I'm assuming, the robot's AI? I'm not really sure, but luckily for us, what we're doing doesn't actually matter all too much. We do, however, have a fuck ton of them to delete, so this night will likely be the longest we've done so far. Anyways, on to the threats on this night. Once again, we have your mother, so let's talk about her. She will just try to walk up on you because she heard you have meat in your pants. Gross, not the type of meat we're talking about, you fucking buffoon. Once you see her, all you have to do is open up your panel and activate her sound sequence and it'll make her go away. Fun fact, the sound that actually lures her away is just the Burger King jingle, which really goes to show how down bad your mother is for food. She's eating Burger King? I didn't even think she would stoop that low, yet here we are. The other character active on this night is Jackie. You'll be able to see her on stage, which we are directly behind. Occasionally, she will leave this stage, which means in a few seconds, she will approach you. When she does, all you have to do is hold your light on her and she'll start shaking like the cashier at Wendy's when I hold him at gunpoint. And then she'll go back to the stage. But that's really it. While this night is probably the longest so far, I do feel it's probably one of the most underwhelming. But then again, if I'm being honest, the gameplay in this game as a whole is pretty underwhelming. Anyways, let's move on to the next post-night minigame. Just kidding, fuckhead. There is no post-night minigame this time around. Instead, we're just booted to night 4 because we're not allowed to have any fun apparently. So on night 4, we set up shop in the playroom. Why? Well, apparently we were chased in here by animatronics or something. I'm not really sure why we're here because we're never explicitly told, but we can work with it. Phone Guy tells us that he'll try to work on activating the speakers to get the characters to fuck off for long enough for us to escape. But in the meantime, we'll have to defend ourselves from 3 characters instead of just 2, except it really is still pretty much just 2, but I'll explain why in a second. Let's start by talking about Jackie, since she can't seem to leave our nuts alone. Bars. She will attempt to attack us from the playhouse door. When we see her, all we have to do is close the door and she won't be able to see us. You'll also notice that unlike the door from night 2, this door doesn't have to be held closed and can actually be toggled. So what's stopping us from just holding the door closed the entire night? Well, that would be because of your fat fuck mother. That's why. She's programmed to play hide and seek. And while the phone guy says it's to play it with the children, I personally happen to know that it's really because she plays hide and seek with the waitresses and tries to hunt down the food they're carrying out to the tables before they can get it to the customers. I'm no idiot. So yeah, all you have to do to avoid her is just not keep the door closed for too long. So she really doesn't have a mechanic. She's just a consequence to abusing another mechanic. So for that reason, I'm saying she really doesn't count as a character on this night. Who does count as a character is the actual other threat on this night. The skunk Dick. He will try to attack you through the playhouse window. During this night, you're equipped with 15 balls. Why? Because he's a dick, that's why. Whenever you see Maurice appear outside of your window, just throw one of the balls in his direction and that'll distract him for a while. We obviously can't spam these balls since we only have 15 of them, but if we need to, I'm willing to BME Pain Olympics myself to get 2 more. But with that, that's really all we have to do. No task this time since we're surviving, so it's a pretty typical sit and survive kind of night. But with that, this night will come to a close and we can move on to the next post-night minigame. In this minigame, we have to help your fat shit mom bake a cake. She says it's because she invited her friends over for a sleepover, but we all know your mom ate her friends because she was hungry. So she's really just baking this cake for herself, fat ass. To start, we need to grab the butter. Thankfully, it appears this time that there's nothing fucking stupid to piss me off. The only thing that really does so far is the fact that the egg, for some reason, has way more white than yolk. Like, way more than usual. That does not look natural at all. Somebody has got to check the chicken that shot that fucking thing out of its dick. Eggs come out of the dick, right? Next up, we gotta add sugar and mix that shit up like I do with all of the babies in the nursery while the nurses aren't looking. Next, we add the fuck-ass egg and the vanilla extract that smells way better than it tastes. Finally, we mix it again, add in the flour and the milk, and mix it one last time. I've made a few cakes in my time, and I'm pretty confident that we used these ingredients out of order, but fuck it, I don't really care. And while the cake is being baked, we're asked if we can find the TV remote since they're all going to want to watch something. And while I'm sure you can tell by looking at your screen where the remote is, what is much more interesting to do is slowly looking to our right, where we will begin to hear the sound of a dog scratching at the door. Click on the door, and we see this.
Are you lost, little one?
I'm looking for my dog.
A little white one?
Yes. Have you seen him?
Yes. He's here with me. He misses you a lot. I was looking for his owner.
Can I please see him?
Of course. Come with me.
So, this dude in a rabbit mask 100% stabbed the shit out that kid, right? It's not just me thinking that? Okay, good. Just gotta make sure we're all on the same page because, and again, I'm no FNAF expert or anything, but I'm pretty confident he killed the shit out that kid. Anyways, with that, the minigame ends and we can move on to night 5. Night 5 takes place in the boiler room, and this night is something else, let's just say that. And by something else, I mean by far the most anxiety-inducing night so far. Why? Not because of how hard it is, because it really isn't that hard at all, but instead because of how long it takes to make the 2 threats go away. Let's talk about it. The first threat on this night is once again, for like the millionth time, your fat as fuck bouncy ball looking ass mother. She probably heard that it was called the boiler room and assumed that meant that's where they boil the water for all the pasta she's forcing down her throat. Fat pig bitch. Literal pig bitch. When she approaches you from behind, all you have to do is hold the gate closed until she leaves. The other character, Maurice, is who makes my nerves ache like they're exposed and somebody clapped as hard as they could with them in between them. When he appears around from the corner looking at you all seductive like, all you have to do is turn to the massive valves in front of you and turn the smallest one at the bottom right. This will cause a whistling sound to play which is supposed to scare him away. Except, here's the funny part. Do you remember how during night 1 he had a very large chance to just not fucking listen to the sound cues at all? Yeah? Well, he does that here as well. Isn't that just so fucking awesome? Hell yeah, it is. We love that. This is why this section is so nerve-wracking, because this dude just doesn't ever leave. I love it. Anyways, on to what we actually have to do to complete this section. It's pretty simple. The phone guy will slowly read off different pipe colors in a specific order, and we'll have to turn the corresponding pipes in the boiler room in the correct order to complete the night. Very easy, but not so when the fucking skunk won't hop up off me. Once we get close to turning all the valves, you'll notice that if you turn around, the stupid squirrel will be present instead of your mom. Very weird, since as far as we were aware, she wasn't supposed to be showing up at this time, so why is she here? After finishing all of the valves, the building shakes. Turning around, we'll see the gate is open and the squirrel is gone. And soon after that, the building shakes again and we black out and the credits roll. Closed down restaurant is burned to the ground by boiler failure. Last night, the restaurant, Jackie's Forest, is burned down to the ground due to an explosion caused by a lack of maintenance of the boilers. The building had been abandoned on January of this year, and it was rumored that the explosion was caused by a lack of proper maintenance from the workers when leaving the building. One casualty was reported, as only one body was found in the remains of the building, crushed by rubble and burned to a crisp. It is theorized that this may have been a burglar or homeless person, as the building wasn't operating and didn't have any workers in it. The 4 animatronic performers the restaurant was known for were found in unusable conditions and will be relocated to a storage facility owned by the company. And that nets us this game's bad ending. Now I know what you're thinking, and trust me, I'm thinking the same thing. How the fuck do we get a good ending in this game? And please, dear God, tell me it's not that I have to collect a random item in each night. Well, thankfully, no, we don't have to do that. Instead, during the boiler room night, if you just completely fucking ignore what the phone guy says and spam the shit out of all the valves, for some reason, the whole building shakes and we get teleported to a room with an elevator. Entering the elevator, we get the following cutscene.
Eddie, I told you to stay in the boiler room. What are you doing? You're in grave danger. You, can't leave the boiler room, much less go into the elevator while the building is falling apart. You have to turn around and leave now. I don't think you're listening to me. I said turn around. Go back to the boiler room. You are not supposed to be in the storage. Not only is it unsafe, but there is confidential stuff down there. You have to leave now.
Ignoring the fact that voice acting was completely awful, I do find it kind of odd how the phone guy really wanted us to turn back, and why he didn't want us to go to the storage room. But with that, we exit the elevator and do exactly what he told us not to, enter the storage room, which actually acts as this game's 6th night. So, here we are in the storage room, by far the most interesting night in this entire game, mainly because there's more than 2 things for us to do. This night integrates every single character we've seen so far, alongside a completely new threat. Let's quickly go over the tools at our disposal first. To start, this is the first night in the game with actual cameras. However, you want to hear something really funny? They're completely useless. So the only thing I'm going to say about them is that the character renders in these cameras are actually pretty creepy for what it's worth. So, let's start going down the list of characters on this night and exactly what they do. We'll start with Jackie. Her whole goal is to attack your right door. You won't be able to see her there unless you flash your light in the doorway. If she's there, simply close the door until she leaves. Simple sugar. Maurice is much the same, except he attacks your left door, and instead of closing the door, you'll have to wear a mask you somehow pulled out of your ass, since as you can clearly see, the lever to the door is fucking shattered. The next character to talk about is your pig bitch of a mother. She will try to attack the giant hallway in front of you. When you see her there, all you have to do is pull down the massive gate and she won't be able to get in. As you can probably tell, just because there's more characters in this night in no way means that this game gets any bit harder than it has been. But finally, we can talk about the brand new character on this night. I don't know its name because we're not told, but I'm just gonna call it the Prototype, since I bet that's how uncreative its actual name is. Hey, recording Dxtr here. I went into the custom night. Its name is Nulls. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I'm going to keep reading it as Prototype since that's how I wrote it and I'm lazy, but just know it's Nulls. The Prototype has 2 ways to attack you, your left door and the hallway in front of you. For both instances of attack, all you have to do is put your mask on and it'll go away. This night is really fucking boring, guys, I can't lie. But with that, just survive until 6 a.m., which is much shorter than most FNAF games, and we get a new newspaper clipping. Engineer arrested after evidence is released by fire survivor in Jackie's Forest restaurant. Last night, the restaurant Jackie's Forest burned down to the ground after an explosion caused by boiler failure. The failure was caused by Eddie Garcia, a worker who was misinstructed by Harvey Turner, the engineer of the restaurant, who is being charged with attempted murder and obstruction of justice after it was revealed by Garcia that Turner had sent him to destroy incriminating evidence from the building. Garcia was able to survive and escape the fire and is being sentenced to home arrest for complicity, while Turner will be kept in custody while the case is investigated. Some evidence links him to 2 local cases, but nothing is confirmed yet. The restaurant had closed in January of this year, rumored to be because of the Maddie Denton case, a 7-year-old girl who went missing in the restaurant on September of last year. And with that, we get the good ending. As far as I'm aware, no more lore as to what the fuck is going on with the weird dude or the dead dog or the dead kid, so I'm just gonna leave it and pretend like it doesn't exist. I mean, I guess if you want to analyze it quickly from that newspaper clipping, it's kind of hinted that Turner, or the phone guy, is the one that killed the girl and the dog or something. I don't fucking know. But with that, that's all Jackie's Forest has to offer. Like I said, I was actually sent a demo of this game a few months ago by the devs, which only had the first 2 nights. And I remember thinking that this game could do something pretty cool if they polished it up a bit. And while from the demo I got, the game has definitely gotten a small upgrade, I figured I should give it a white video the moment I saw the full version was released. Overall, Jackie's Forest tries to do a lot of things, but I personally think it falls short in all of them. I don't think it does a very good job at telling its story, considering I was literally able to piece together pretty much none of it. I know there's at least 1 dead kid and a dog and some weird stranger guy that probably killed some kids, but who is he? What does the prototype thing have to do with anything? And who are any of the characters besides our own and the phone guy? That's just completely unknown to me. And on top of that, while each night is unique and I do really like that, I just feel like each night could have had something more. Because as this game stands, while I do like the character designs, I do think that those are the only memorable parts of this game. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Or do you think this is actually one of the most interesting FNAF games you've ever seen? Let me know in the comments below. In my Midnight at Star Stage video, I asked you guys what you thought was the best FNAF fan series ever made and why. And my favorite answer was this one by Brownie Zorua. They said Five Nights at Candy's. And while I personally don't really care for that series myself, I can't deny how much nostalgia that game has over everyone in this community. That cannot be ignored. When I'm looking for FNAF games to cover, I usually look for a few baseline things, a few bare minimums. However, I do also look for games that have a bit of a goofy aspect to them. For example, the fact that Five Nights to Remember literally has Gooner bait built into it. I think stuff like that is pretty funny, so it's definitely something I look for when determining which games are going to get a Dxtr White video. The game I've played recently started fairly normal with a gameplay loop I enjoyed. However, near the end, something happened that was so completely out of left field, I was at a loss for words. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? I'm very excited to talk about this game as I had a very fun time playing. So sit back and enjoy the ride as we dive nuts first into animatronic memories. Animatronic Memories starts as many official FNAF games do, that being showing a newspaper clipping asking for a security guard to monitor the building at night. Excited, jumping for joy, and kicking our feet and shit, we accept the offer and start our first night on the job. Entering our new office, we look around and notice that this place is clearly not very normal. Able to look in 3 directions, directly in front of us we have our computer, which lets us view our cameras. To our right, we see the door to our office, and to the left, we have a large window. Something I've never really understood about some buildings is why they have windows to other rooms in the building. I'm no architect, but that just doesn't really make sense. I don't know what possible purpose it could realistically serve. Also, this one has a fucking door on it. Fantastic. This game doesn't use a power system. Side note, I am so glad more FNAF games are choosing to move away from the power mechanic. I personally never found it very enjoyable, so I appreciate that many games are choosing to remove it so that your strategy can focus more on nerve control and skill rather than balancing a number. In a game where my only 3 actions are checking lights, closing doors, and watching cameras, boy do I sure love it when a central gameplay mechanic is limiting how much of those actions I'm allowed to do. It's so much fun. But anyways, since this game doesn't use power and there are 2 doors, I was curious how this game would pull that off. Let's begin with the window door. This one is very easy. If you're not holding the door down manually, it will automatically rise. Simple. Now let's turn our attention to the much more interesting door, the one that's actually a door. This door, you'll notice, has 3 fuses that connect to it. Just like Five Nights at Candy's, the longer you have a door closed, the higher the meter beneath it will rise. But unlike Candy's, this game actually used the mechanic in a much better way. If your meter is to increase fully, one of your fuses will break and the meter will reset. If you lose all 3 fuses, you will no longer be able to close the door, and the animatronics will very quickly close the gap on you and very quickly close your mouth so you don't make too much noise when they're obliterating your guts like iDubbbz obliterates his reputation. And that's really all you need to know to be able to play this game. All the mechanics are incredibly simple, which I think a lot of people could agree with me when I say that's a breath of fresh air, especially when it seems like every new FNAF release is just trying their best to get on the max mode list. But anyways, on to the threats that this night introduces, that being Bonnie and Chica. Let's pause for a moment. I want to really take the time to appreciate these character designs. Not only are they creepy, not only are they gorgeous, but they're also extremely uncanny. Looking at these characters just makes me uncomfortable in a very unique way. Especially Chica, like fucking ew. Anyways, let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie does exactly what you'd expect him to. He starts on the show stage, randomly walks around the cameras, and eventually lands at your door. Which again, with the way these characters look, it's just really fucking uncomfortable looking, which I love. All you need to do is close the door, and you're a-okay. He'll pound on the door, and you can reopen it. Chica is much the same, except she's fatter. Since these two are really just here to teach you the basics, beating the night is very easy. But before we can move on to night 2, we get the pleasure of talking about the very neat post-night minigames. After each night, we get to play a repairing minigame. I will say, technically speaking, these aren't really games at all, more just a holding down the mouse simulator, but I love little extra things like this. I would have enjoyed them in a game like Jolly as well, but unfortunately for that game, especially Jolly 3 Chapter 1, the minigames there take so fucking long, I'd rather rip out my own catheter than ever play them. However, in this game, they're short, sweet, and pretty fun for what they are. We're always tasked with replacing a piece of whatever animatronic is given to us. On night 1, that's Bonnie. The challenge of these nights, if you can even call it a challenge, come in the form of the character behind us, a ratchet-ass looking female balloon boy who probably has a clussy. What the fuck? Holy fuck! Throughout the minigame, you will hear her making noises behind you, slowly inching closer and closer. When she gets too close, you'll have to quickly whip around and fucking tase her, which I think is just awesome. Afterwards, she'll back up off you, and the cycle continues. Overall, not too difficult, but something extra that I think adds some spice to the game. Something you'll notice about the night sections is that they feel a lot shorter than most FNAF games, and that's because they are. But where the game lacks in length of night segments, it totally makes up for in the form of its 8-bit minigames. Usually, I fucking hate these, but I actually don't mind the minigames found here. Let's go over the post-night 1 8-bit minigame. The purpose of these minigames is exactly what you'd think, that being introducing lore, and of course, sliding in some secrets that allow for a different ending. This game only has 2 of those, thankfully, so I'll be going over the process of getting the true ending right now because no shit. In the first minigame, you play as Freddy. It seems that throughout these minigames, all the characters are preparing for a party. In each minigame, whichever character you play as will have a different task to complete. Freddy's task is being a fat lazy fuck and just talking to the other characters. Wow, Freddy, you're really taking pages out of your toy counterpart's book, huh? Fat lazy piece of shit. Yeah, watch all your coworkers do the work and still take the credit at the end, dick. Anyways, completing the task is obviously not what's important in these minigames, as if you are to complete the tasks, the minigame will end and you won't be able to collect the secret item you need for the true ending. What you should really focus on doing is finding a glitched sprite somewhere around the building. Very similar to going into the glitched areas in FNAF World. For Freddy, the wall will be glitched between 2 tables at the bottom of the map. Touching this glitched area will bring you back to some black space Amori type shit. In this black space, all you have to do is find a Freddy plushie and bring it to one of the crying children. After doing so, you'll be met with a black and white animatic, in which you're in the POV of a kid entering a Fazbear location before getting lured into the back room by a man in a bunny costume. Fuck that child molester, bro. Get him out. No, get that fucker out of here, bro. Oh my God. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, great. I think we all know where this is going. Moving on to night 2, which introduces one new threat. That being Freddy himself, the hulking, titanous, gargantuan-ass bear. He attacks the door exactly like Bonnie and Chica, except he does something even more cancerous. He will also attack your door, except he moves through cameras a lot faster than Bonnie and Chica do. And once he reaches your door, he'll enter a lot faster than them as well. Instead of jump scaring you, he does like Phone Guy says and gets a little bit quirky, choosing to reach his hand into your fuse box and immediately break all of them, then jump scare you. Now, as cool as that is, I do have to ask the question, if he kills you after doing this, then why doesn't he just kill you? Don't get me wrong, I love little details like this and I'm not necessarily complaining, but it's a genuine question. I'm assuming the dev just didn't want to have 3 characters appear to do the exact same thing, even though, to be fair, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy all end up doing the exact same thing, just at various speeds. This is something that could be attributed to laziness, but you have to answer whether you think it is for yourself, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later. Post-Night 2 repair needs you to fix up Chica and her cupcake. Ew! Ew! Bro, this bitch is disgusting, dude. Again, this is much the same as the last one. Tootsie, which, yes, by the way, is that clown's name, is more aggressive, but it's still pretty easy to deal with. However, the Post-Night 2 minigame is different, and that makes me excited, because, would you believe me if I said this, I will actually enjoy talking about the lore in this game. I know, crazy. Turns out, when I'm told a story where I don't have to spend a billion fucking hours searching for answers, that actually makes it fun. Anyways, in this minigame you play as Bonnie, and the goal of the minigame is to do some sweeping, aka manual labor, something Toy Freddy would avoid at all costs because he's unemployed. But fuck actually doing the task at hand, that's for retards. Instead, we're going to warp the fabric of space and time by touching a busted up table and be teleported directly to hell. Doesn't that sound way better than doing the everyday tasks of a customer service job? Awesome. Well, once you enter black space, all you need to do is find a Bonnie plush and once again give it to one of the crying children. Once again, afterwards we get a cutscene where we're in the POV of a child, this time being bullied by some fat-ass children. Have you guys ever realized that like every bully that's ever existed is about the size of a Ford F-150? Whatever. We get saved by the man in the bunny suit and then immediately get betrayed and murdered. That's right, kids. Not only can you not trust your peers, you can't trust adults either. I guess we should all just give up. Night 3 time. What's the new threat introduced here? And will it have a different mechanic than everything else we've seen so far? This night introduces a fan-made character, something I don't often see when fan games use the official characters. This character's name is Anne, a female Foxy equivalent. Give me Rule 34. What? Who said that? Anyways, she begins on the Pirate's Cove camera next to Foxy. She will, just like Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, move through phases on the camera until she's ready to attack. When she does, you'll be able to see her run off of the Pirate's Cove camera, wherein she will then book it to your window. When she arrives, you will have to quickly close it until you hear her leave. So, hey, something new, kind of, not really, it's just another door, but I guess that's better than nothing. Oh, did I mention Foxy also activates on this night? Well, he does. Wanna know what he does? Disappointingly, it's the exact same thing Anne does, just a lot slower. Isn't that weird? The fast-running Five Nights at Freddy's character is now slow. Like, I know he has a peg leg, so that's obviously making him move slowly, but like, goddamn, why'd you have to butcher my boy like that? He did not deserve it. But yes, as I've said, Foxy does the exact same thing Anne does. I will say that because they move at different speeds, there are some very rare instances where it can lead to some stress while watching their timings, but the odds of this happening are pretty slim, so you probably will never even experience it. That's honestly my biggest problem with this game. It looks amazing, I'm interested in the story, the sound design is fantastic, and you even managed to make me enjoy the 8-bit minigames. But this game has introduced 5 characters so far, and yet somehow, with 5 characters, there's only 2 mechanics to deal with all of them, and both of those mechanics are closing a door and waiting a few seconds. I've tried my best to think about how I can view this positively, but I really just can't. Sure, I personally like it when FNAF games aren't too hard and I can beat them without too much strain, but I can easily see how this game's mechanic could be a turn-off for some people. There's just not enough happening to keep a lot of people interested. We have one character to talk about who switches up the mechanics a little bit, but I still don't even think that's enough, especially given the time this game was released, that being February of 2025. You might question my complaining of this. Dxtr, the original Five Nights at Freddy's only had 1 mechanic, 2 if you're being generous and calling Foxy a different mechanic. And to that statement, I'd agree. However, there are 2 points that I have to give to that argument. Yes, FNAF 1 only had 2 mechanics, closing the door and stalling Foxy. However, the first thing you need to acknowledge is that Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released in 2014 and was a pioneer of an entire genre. It has been 11 years since that game's release. I think it's reasonable to expect newer games in the same genre to have evolved, and for the most part, they totally have. Look at The Joy of Creation, Tycoon Sons Lumber Co., Showman's Awakening. All of these games have added so much to the central idea that is Five Nights at Freddy's. This game just doesn't do that. On top of that, let's dive a little bit deeper into Five Nights at Freddy's 1 for a moment. While yes, the only real mechanic in that game is closing the doors for defense, we need to talk about the synergy between Freddy and Foxy. Foxy requires you to look at your cameras to stall him. If you don't, while yes, you can close the door to keep him out, with every pound your door will lose power dramatically, which incentivizes you to look at him. It seems Scott saw a potential bore in this design, so he made Freddy work the same as the others but with a twist to synergize. Freddy can't enter your office while your cameras are down, and he's the only animatronic that will never move backwards, meaning that once he's at your door, he will stay there. He's also the only door animatronic that will not break your buttons, so you don't have to close the door while you're in your office. However, on the contrary, he doesn't work the same way the other 2 door animatronics do. You can't see him when the light is on, and at the same time, Chica can be at your door while Freddy is also at it because of this. Because of this mechanic, it's very likely that Freddy will be at your door for most of the night, especially on nights 5 and 6. Since the game forces you to check your cameras to stall Foxy, this leads to you needing to close your door before you check the cameras to not have Freddy enter. This is a good synergy between 2 characters and is why I wouldn't complain about this in that game. In animatronic memories, however, there is no difference between characters that attack the same way like this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica all do the exact same thing. Anne and Foxy also both do the exact same thing. Sure, Freddy may break your fuses first, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still doing the exact same thing, just going to your door and killing you. He just happens to have an animation before that happens. Now, is this a bad thing? I think that's more up to a case-by-case basis. While yes, I do feel that it's boring, I still had plenty of fun playing this game and I would still recommend it to people. I just think it's obviously important to point out flaws like this when analyzing a game. Sorry about that tangent, moving on to the repair minigame. In this one, we're asked with fixing up Freddy, who has some insane crow's feet. Like, holy shit, this guy's old as fuck. But this doesn't change anything from the last 2, so let's move on to the 8-bit minigame. In this minigame, we play as Chica, tasked with collecting ingredients for a cake. Shut the fuck up! I don't care about your bitch-ass task! Let's go to hell! Oh, but before we do that, I should mention that there's an endoskeleton that starts spawning, and if you touch it, you die. So, like, don't do that. Anyways, once we're back in black space, you once again have to get a plushie. This time, doing so is a bit different. You'll see several eyes on the floor. Interacting with them will cause them to close. Once you close all of them, the plushie will spawn and you can give it to the child. After doing so, we're shown another cutscene, this time in the POV of a child who wants a prize from the prize counter. The man in the bunny suit gives us a Chica plush before inviting us to the back room. Once inside, he stabs us, and the last thing we see is our Chica plushie on the floor as we bleed out. So, that's sad. Dude, that's fucking cool as shit, bro. That's cool. No, not her, please. Please don't ruin your game. Please don't do it, please. Please, I'm begging you, don't ruin your game. Don't add a music box. Please, 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 for the love of God, don't do it. Anyways, night 4 time. This introduces Harley. What? Who the fuck is Harley? Well, the marionette, of course, duh. The marionette thankfully doesn't work in the way you think she does. No music box to wind because the developer of this game isn't Satan. The marionette has 2 different ways of attacking you, something I think is awesome. I think it's super cool when characters can do more than one thing, and I think it's something I'd like to see more often. Her first attack consists of her attempting to shut down the cameras. When she leaves her box, the camera has a chance to glitch. If it does, you have to quickly find her on one of the cameras and press a newly appearing sound disruption button to make her fuck off. The other option of attack is through your vent. I didn't even tell you guys that we had a vent because it's really never really important. Instead of glitching the cameras, when Harley leaves, she can make a bell noise as well. When you hear that, you will need to quickly check the kitchen camera and shock her ass. Because once she enters it, you're gonna be completely done for, as there's no way to stop her once she enters. Oh hey, something new! Fortunately, sound cues were added so she's not completely AIDS. But if you can beat her, which shouldn't be too difficult, we move on to the repair section where we have to fix Foxy, who, holy shit, has seen better days. God damn, what'd they do to you? First a peg leg and now they filleted you? What the fuck? But after that, we can move on to the 8-bit minigame. Hooray! In it, we play as Anne. Who gives a fuck what the task is? Let's go to the black space using another table. Hooray! This black space section is confusing. So confusing, I actually don't even know how I completed it. Basically, as you walk through black space, you'll see several character symbols on the ground. Then, at the end, you can find several symbols that you can change into a sort of code. You might think, oh hey, just input them in the order you saw them. That's what I thought too. But, at least when I was playing, that was seemingly impossible. Then I noticed that a few of the squares had a symbol that no other square had. So I tried to see if each square had a unique symbol, but they didn't. Then I noticed there was this dark rabbit symbol that didn't appear anywhere else in black space. So I tried to input that into each square, but that also didn't work because not every square had one. I'm so serious, I have no idea what the intended puzzle is here. I ended up just randomly guessing it, and eventually I got it. I guess set that to Foxy. Set this to Bonnie. Set this to Chica. I literally do not know what I did. I promise you, I literally do not know what I did, but I did it. If you guys have any idea what the intended solution to this puzzle is, please let me know in the comments. But once you get the plush and give it to the child, we take another look at another cutscene. This time, the man just ganks some random ass kid who was just standing there minding their own business and murders them. No motive. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to bother talking about Night 5 since it's just a harder version of Night 4. Additionally, there's no repair section after this night, only being one final 8-bit minigame. In this one, we play as Foxy. Going into black space, we can place all the plushies we've collected on podiums, which will give us the Foxy plush. Placing it on the final podium will spawn one final child and the minigame will end. Being tossed into one final cutscene, we see another kid get shanked to death. Amazing and deserved. Shouldn't have been a child, dumbass. But what about Night 6? Well, of course, as usual, we were told not to come back tonight, but we said fuck it, we ball, and decided to come back anyways. Nobody was present, we enter the office, but get a strange feeling that we're being watched. Night 6 is just a harder version of Night 5, but however, if you got the bad ending by not collecting the plushies in the black space and the 8-bit minigames, this night will be completely different, but we'll cover that later. After completing the night, a literal masterpiece of a cutscene plays out. Seriously, I can't undermine how amazing this cutscene really is. It starts with us standing in front of the arcade machine. Our suspicions are confirmed when Afton comes up behind us and fucks our shit up, knocking us out. Soon after, the arcade game glitches as fuck, and all of the animatronics walk into the back room. And let me tell you, they're itching to serve up a knuckle sandwich. Jesus Christ. Cut that out. That's corny as fuck. Afton pulls out a shocking device to fuck with the robots, which shuts them down. Thinking he's won, Afton lets his guard down. That's when the spirits of the children attack him. They loosen a pipe on the wall and break it off. They shove Afton onto it, and as the pipe impales his chest, his lungs fill with blood. He slowly dies, staring at the ones whose lives he so easily took. We wake up to see the souls disappearing, finally able to rest. We leave the building, and animatronic memories comes to a close. That is, if you chose to do the true ending. And even though that final cutscene is actually a cinematic masterpiece, I actually think the bad ending is more enjoyable. Why? Well, if you don't collect the plushies, when you re-enter the building on the overtime night, instead of entering the office, we go into an unknown room with several bags laid on the floor. Opening them up, we find the actual fucking remains of the children. What the fuck? This game is so cool. Caught off guard, Afton kills us. However, before we can pass on, a shadow rabbit pulls us into the darkness and we enter another fucking dimension. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? That's right, the overtime night in this game is different depending on which ending you get, and goddamn, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You'll notice that this office is set up in the same way as the normal office, having 3 directions to look in, one your desk, another your door, and the final being your window. Let's go over each threat because there's a few of them. Starting with the shadow rabbit, you'll have to constantly watch your cameras in case he appears on one of them. When he does, you have to press the big goofy ass red button on your desk to make him disappear. And that's really it for him. And that's actually the only reason you ever have to check the cameras. So, how do the other characters add anything of substance? I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna tell you because it's a fucking review, dumbass. You'll also notice on your desk you have 2 masks. Now, if you're anything like me, seeing these 2 things scare you a little, but I promise, the mechanic with these 2 isn't ass at all. Occasionally, you'll see either a fucked up baby clown face or a Ballora looking face appear on your static monitors. Whichever face you see is the mask you will have to put on until the face goes away. Bada bing bada boom, that's another threat down. Now, the main threats we're being attacked by in the bad ending are the souls of the children, because by not collecting the plushies, we've basically been neglecting them. At your door is where Bonnie attacks. The door starts closed and is closed most of the night, with you actually not even being able to open it. Occasionally, Bonnie will attempt to force it open, and flashing your light at him will cause the door to close. Leave it open for too long, and I bet you can guess what'll happen. Moving back to your desk is where Chica will attack. Chica herself doesn't kill you, but she can be a pain in the ass if you're not ready for her. Right before the hour is about to turn, she'll reach onto your desk to pause your clock. Click her and she'll leave. But you have to be fast. If she manages to pause your clock, you'll have to complete that hour again, making the overall night last longer. This is honestly a mechanic I think is pretty damn interesting. While yes, it's annoying if you don't catch her, the way to beat her is easy enough that it isn't bullshit to deal with. Easy mechanic with a horrific consequence. I love it. Moving to your window is where Foxy and Ann are. Sadly, once again, both do the exact same thing. Occasionally, they'll pound on your window, which is now boarded up by metal bars. All you have to do is hold your flashlight on them and they'll eventually leave. Very basic. Once again, literally identical to Bonnie, just in a different location. Shine your flashlight, they leave. The final threat is Freddy, who, once again, like Chica, can't kill you by himself, but is a big annoyance. Occasionally, he'll jump in front of your face and block your view. You'll have to spam the spacebar to pull him off you and dropkick him through a chain link fence. But after that, those are all the threats. If you can manage to hold off long enough, you'll enter one last cutscene, albeit not as grandiose as the true endings. You manage to escape the grasp of the souls. As you attempt to pass on, you look back and see the souls desperately trying to pull you back into the darkness. Escaping the souls, leaving them behind to suffer forever. You move on to the afterlife, and finally fucking die. So yeah, very stark contrast between the 2 endings. I actually felt like there was a major difference, unlike in most FNAF games, which I can definitely appreciate. But with that, as far as I'm aware, that's all Animatronic Memories has to offer. Overall, I think Animatronic Memories is an enjoyable experience. I only got one ending in my playthrough, and I probably wouldn't want to get the other. Not because I don't want to see it, but because of how lackluster the gameplay loop is. With there really only being two mechanics, closing doors and shocking the puppet, I don't want to discourage anyone from giving this game a try. It's fun to play, it's an engaging story that's easy to follow, and that is something I can definitely appreciate. But what do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually perfect in every way? Let me know in the comments below. In my Pop Goes video, I asked you guys what your top 10 favorite FNAF games were, and my favorite answer is this one by Steel Sword 77. I just think that it's a really funny joke comment because nobody in their right mind would say Sister Location is their favorite FNAF game. And let's not even talk about the hilarious joke where he put Ultimate Custom Night above the Glitched Attraction, Return to Bloody Nights, Joy of Creation, and Flumpties. That's just hilarious. Great joke, buddy. Uniqueness in FNAF games, something that isn't the most common thing in the world. I'm sure as FNAF players, we can all agree that something interesting that we've never seen before coming around is something we don't see all too often. But you better believe we suck it up whenever we get the chance to sink our big meaty claws into it. The game we'll be talking about today is a bit older. Being created 5 years ago, I'm honestly surprised I had never heard of it before, as it truly is one of the most unique FNAF fan games I've ever talked about on this channel, with a unique art style, interesting yet incredibly confusing story, and a mixture of a bunch of different game styles and mechanics. Join me today as we dive into the intricately crafted world of the Freddy Files. The Freddy Files is actually broken up into chapters instead of nights, and from the sounds of it, I'm pretty sure that each chapter of the game is 1 hour of the one night that takes place during this game. Upon starting the game, we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Our character is on the phone with 911, saying that while working, the door to the building closed and locked itself so he can't get out. The dispatcher said the police are on their way, but it will take several hours for them to get there, which, by the way, is bullshit. This restaurant is presumably in a city, or at least a town, so how is it going to take the police hours to get there? Regardless, we still have to finish our shift anyways, so we figure it's not a big deal. The dispatcher makes a point to us to not enter any unauthorized areas, which I personally find weird. And with that, we're spat into the first chapter where we're greeted with some exposition. Fazbear Entertainment started their first business with Fredbear's Family Diner, a successful business that took over the market for 5 years. However, a few months later, a child was known to be murdered by the mascot, Fredbear. Later, 4 other children went missing during the incident as well. The police searched the entire establishment for any signs of the children, but to no avail. The co-worker of the diner did not negotiate either. The case was then closed after a second failed search, April 26th. 1983. And with that, we're ready to begin the chapter. And this is where you'll notice this game is not your typical FNAF game, which is exactly why I wanted to cover it. This game, while yes, has a survival system like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's more of a top-down free roam than anything else. Whoa, what the fuck? Whoa. The point of this first chapter is to unlock a door that we're not supposed to unlock. It's an unauthorized area, so I have no idea why we're doing this despite the dispatcher literally just telling us not to. This chapter serves as an escape room, which I actually really like. And of course, there are some threats that are trying to stop us from completing it. So let's talk about those two guys first. The first threat introduced in this chapter is Golden Freddy. His mechanic is very simple. As you can see, we are equipped with a flashlight and a fear meter. If our flashlight is off, our fear meter will slowly increase. With the light on, the fear will go back down. So keeping this light on is obviously something we're going to want to do. Golden Freddy directly counters that. He's a ghost character that moves through walls, and he's very fast. If you ever see Golden Freddy near you, you need to shut off your flashlight and make sure he doesn't run into you by dodging out of the way. If he touches you, you're obviously dead. Something I do want to note that I don't really like about this section, and Golden Freddy specifically, there is a lot of reading in this game, mainly in the form of just interacting with things. And Golden Freddy will still be active while you're reading something, and you can't turn your flashlight on or off while you have a dialogue box up. So be prepared to die very frequently because of poor timings like this. What on earth? It's a key. Whatever hide it in here. Doesn't open the door. But fuck, dude! Can't do that while I'm fucking reading. The second threat introduced here is Shadow Freddy.
I'm Shadow Freddy, I'm so awesome and black. I'm black. I got white eyes, I'm black, I'm Shadow Freddy.
Shadow Freddy, while being awesome and black, is a much more stressful character to deal with as he's a lot more random. Occasionally, you will hear him growl. When you do, you'll notice that your fear will start increasing even if your flashlight is on. This signals to you that you need to go find him somewhere in the building that he'll teleport to at random. When you find him, all you need to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll go away, wherein your fear will start to decrease again. Now, these two together, in all honesty, are not that difficult to deal with. So let's talk about what exactly we have to do to open that stuck door. To start, near the stage you'll find a vent. Interacting with it will tell you that something is inside, but you can't reach it. Moving down to the kitchen, inside you'll find a safe that requires a code that we don't have. Just outside of the kitchen are some random planks and sticks for some reason. Using one of the sticks, we can go back over to the vent and fish out the item, which we find is a key. This key, unfortunately, doesn't unlock the door, but it does unlock something else. Moving down to the office, inside there is a locked box. Using the key we got from the vent, we can open it. Inside, there are several animatronic heads, but more importantly, there's a remote. Using this remote, we can turn on the monitor in our office, which will then display the code to the safe. Now, obviously, I could ask several questions as to why things are happening the way they are. Why was there wood on the floor? Why was there a key in a vent? Why was the remote to the TV locked in a box? Why does the TV just have the code to a safe? But this is clearly just a puzzle escape room game, so weird shit like this is just kind of par for the course. Continuing, now knowing the code, we input it into the safe and get a hammer. Using this hammer, we figure we can break the locked door down, so we head over to do exactly that. And that's when we're thrown into a much more FNAF feeling minigame. During this minigame, we obviously have to break down the door. However, Golden Freddy will be attacking us the entire time. While we pound on the door, he will slowly approach us from behind to beat on our bottom. Occasionally, we'll have to turn around and hold our flashlight on him to make him back up into the darkness. I personally found that pounding on the door 15 times is the most you can do to stay safe without Golden Freddy golden showering you. Do this enough times and the door will open, and we see the following cutscene. So yeah, we stumble upon the body of 3 of the dead children. Truly gruesome. However, I also have to ask why there quite literally is nothing inside of this massive room. Who knows? We reflect on what we saw and realize that 4 kids went missing, yet we only saw 3. Before we can think about it more, we hear the rest of the characters in the building activate. And knowing our lives are about to get a lot more difficult, we can move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 moves much more into a typical FNAF game. When we load in, we find ourselves in an office. We know from the last chapter that all of the characters have activated, so now we have to hunker down and defend ourselves. So let's go over the tools at our disposal. To start, if we turn around, we'll find our cameras. They're just cameras. Nothing crazy to talk about here. Turning back in front of us is where things start to matter. To start, you'll notice on the left and right doors, we'll be able to set off an alarm system. When you use these alarms, your computer's RAM will increase. Now, unlike actual computer RAM, once you stop using the alarm, the RAM usage will not go back down, which again, doesn't make any sense because that's not how RAM works, but whatever. What you have to do is manually delete the RAM by holding the delete RAM button on your monitor. That doesn't really make sense, but it's clear the dev isn't very tech savvy, but that's okay. Also on our monitor are 2 more alarms, Alarm 15 and Alarm 24. We're not going to worry about Alarm 24 right now. Alarm 15 is an alarm that plays directly in front of you. The phone guide describes this area of the building as outside, so I'm imagining it's literally a window to outside of the building. You just can't tell because it's dark as fuck. Same with the other 2 alarms, it will also increase your RAM usage. Now let's talk about the threats this chapter introduces. Fun fact, there's 3 of them: Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. I'm going to talk about Bonnie and Chica at the same time since they do the exact same thing. They will try to make it to either of your doors respectively. Bonnie attacks the left, Chica attacks the right. Once they enter your office, they will quite literally be directly in your fucking face, with their rank-ass breath searing your nose hairs. All you have to do is hold the alarm on whichever side they went to, and they will quickly leave. But there is one other path they both can take as well, and that's to the window in front of you. When they're out there, play alarm 15, and they will return right to outside of your door, where they will then soon enter your office, giving you little time to delete RAM between those moments. Freddy is the final threat introduced in this chapter, and he works much the same as Bonnie and Chica, with one major change that honestly makes him easier than the other two we've talked about already. When he enters your office, he'll stand directly in front of you, so you can actually play the alarm on either side and he will leave. The only other change he has from Bonnie and Chica is that you have to play the alarm on him for a lot longer. Just like them, he can also go to the window, but the same rules apply to him. Chapter 2 is really just an introduction night, and despite the fact that you can see Foxy on stage, he never activates, which really means you never have to check the cameras throughout this entire chapter. And on top of that, since Foxy didn't activate and we never used Alarm 24, something tells me that Chapter 3 will also be taking place in this office, so let's move on to that. So, turns out we're actually not on to Chapter 3 quite yet. If you remember at the start of Chapter 2, we saw 12 a.m. Well, at the beginning of this next section, we see 1 a.m., which would mean we're still currently in Chapter 2. This hour is back to the top-down gameplay we saw in Chapter 1. This time around, we see our character get absolutely fucking bodied by some random guy. Oh my god, oh dear lord. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead as fuck. He's dead as disco, bro. Dead as shit. He's Dunyanings. In the note we get on this night, he says he kidnapped us to play a game, and we'll be playing with some minions. Fantastic. The gameplay of this night has us unlocking a door, which takes forever. Seriously, look at this. Oh my god. Really? So yeah. That's a lot of fun. While this is happening, we'll have to constantly be checking the doors to our left and our right. Going up to them, we can listen for growling. If we hear growling, all we have to do is run to the closet in the middle of the office and hide until they go away. However, if we stay in the closet for too long, we'll be killed by another character. Why am I getting raped from all angles today, huh? After we fully unlock the door, I fully expected this section to come to an end, but no. Not quite. Instead, we get thrown into a fucking Shadow Freddy boss fight. What the fuck? Whoa. What the fuck? Boss. And unironically, this boss fight is better than the only boss fight in Heartbound. But let's be honest, that's not very hard to beat. You'll have to dodge these little colored things, not really sure what the hell they're supposed to be, and then he'll start throwing pizzas at you, which are super not fun to dodge. These stupid pizzas were actually the only thing I took damage to in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. And finally, he drops these things. I don't know what they are. At first I thought olives, but then I thought about it and that doesn't make any sense. Comment down below if you know what these things are. But after you complete the fight, you'll find the body of the child who supposedly possessed Freddy, and he bleeds on the floor, which would imply to me that the kid was alive and we just killed the fucking child. If that's the case, does that mean we're clinically insane? Maybe so. We learned that we were never allowed to tell the police about the missing kids because he brought us here? Or something. I'm not totally sure why we can't tell the police. My only guess is something along the lines of it'll look like we killed them all. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I'm sure we'll learn plenty more. For now, let's continue. Now we move on to the next section of this game. We're still in Chapter 2, except now it's 1:30 a.m. That's right, we're really splitting this game up into as many pieces as we can, and I'm all for it. Unfortunately, there's literally nothing interesting for me to talk about during this section. We're back in the office area, except literally nothing has changed since the first time we played this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica move slightly faster, but nothing new is actually introduced. So let's move on to 2 a.m. 2 a.m. actually marks the beginning of Chapter 3, which means we have something interesting to talk about. We learn that the building got shut down due to it being disgusting as fuck. Food all over the floor, little kid throw up down the backs of the robots, all the nasty shit. During this section, we play as a temporary janitor, so I guess we just have all the fucking jobs now, huh? Something you'll notice about this night as we talk about it is that even though, yes, we are a janitor, literally no cleaning happens whatsoever. Instead, all we do is fix a fucking elevator. As that would suggest, this section of the game takes place in an elevator. Our goal is to get to floor 5, but in order to do that, we first have to connect each floor to like a mainframe or something. I have no fucking idea, just roll with it. All this section consists of is basically looking at this fucking screen until this bar makes it to this square. Once it does, press the green button on the elevator to move to the next floor. Of course, it's not just that, as there is a threat trying to eat our butts the entire time. That threat being Withered Bonnie. I'm not going to dive into the possible reason as to why we see normal Bonnie during the next sections and Withered Bonnie now. Maybe we're not playing as the same character, maybe this section takes place during a different time, or fuck it, maybe Bonnie just took his fucking face off. Who really cares? While you're connecting the elevator, Bonnie will slowly get closer and closer to you. Once he gets too close, all you have to do is close the elevator door until you hear him back off. Then go back to doing what you were doing. While the door is closed, it will drain power, but considering you only have to close the door on Bonnie for like 4 seconds, there is literally no way you're running out of power during this section. After reaching floor 5, we get a cutscene. Our character walks past an assembly line and finds the puppet's gift box. On it, we find a note that tells us to meet in the alley of Fredbear's Family Diner, signed by the puppet herself. What the fuck is going on? Why did the puppet leave this note here? Why did she know that we were going to be here? And why not just meet me to talk to me at this place since you already know I would be here? Who knows? But I'm sure we'll find out as we continue. Speaking of, let's do that. Here we are, back into the office section of the game, where this time Foxy is actually finally activated. Really should have happened last night, but we'll roll with it. Let's talk about what he does, as even though he is super basic, he's still the most interesting of the characters so far. Foxy can attack both your left and right door, much like Freddy, except Foxy actually takes advantage and turns it into an actual mechanic, unlike Freddy. Foxy too can appear at your window, except the main difference with him is that we're told he can only hear the frequency of Alarm 24. So finally, we have a use for this alarm. It works in the exact same way as Alarm 15 and will just send him back. The real difference with Foxy is how he attacks your door. Unlike every other character, he won't ever enter your office, so he finally gives our camera a use after 2 nights of never needing to turn around. You'll have to watch the cameras next to your office to tell which side Foxy is going to attack. When you see him enter either one of these cameras, you'll have to use the alarm on that side of the office and he'll leave. However, you may have noticed something weird when I explained that, and I'm thinking the same thing. The alarm that plays when you use it on the doors is the exact same alarm as Alarm 15, yet it scares away Foxy. But the phone guy told us that Foxy can't hear Alarm 15, so like, what the fuck is even going on? This makes no sense whatsoever. Just wanted to point out that little inconsistency. There's nothing else to talk about on this night, so we can move on to the next chapter. Chapter 4 puts us back into the top-down 8-bit minigame style, something I was pretty excited to see. This section acts kind of like a puzzle section, and I say kind of because there's also quite a bit that isn't puzzles. To start, all we have to do is push 2 levers, getting scared as fuck by a shadow at the same time. Maybe I can open this? Oh no, that opened up this side, okay. Oh my god! What the fuck was that? Then we have to press 2 buttons to open a gate. But I'm not kidding you, this is quite possibly one of the tightest timings I've ever seen in my life. Pressing these 2 buttons on the timer you have to press them in is borderline frame perfect. Really made my penis hurt trying to pull this off. However, after doing so, it opens another gate with some levers to pull a certain number of times to open another gate. To figure out the code, we have to do some basic mental math. But for someone like me who sucks ass at mental math, this part took me much longer to beat than it should have, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Afterwards, we continue and have to do another even more bullshit double button press timing. This one is absolutely brutal. I can't even lie to you. Got it. Fucking A. That's ass. That opens another gate and we find the marionette. Upon walking closely, we start a conversation. We learn that we're playing as Henry, as the puppet refers to us as her father. There's a whole lot of fucking yapping here, but she basically tells him that William is killing kids again and that a new establishment is opening. The plan is to tamper with the animatronics so that Michael then tampers with them, causing them to attack William, and then William will go to take them apart, wherein he'll be forced into the suit and die, and then we'll burn down the building with everyone inside. So really just the FNAF storyline, but that's our plan. Finally, we're thrown into a midnight motorist minigame for some reason. I'm really not sure why, but it's long as fuck. And from what I could see, there was no secret way to go to juniors like there is in the original. We end by getting some dialogue from Henry and nervous about what he should do and what will happen if he goes along with the plan. And with that, we move on to the next night section that's probably going to make me fall asleep. With 3:30 rolling around, it's time for us to move on to the next night section. And believe it or not, there's actually something new that gets added this time around. That being Golden Freddy. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. We get a phone call from Golden Freddy this time around. He says he loves playing with us. So it seems that the atmosphere has taken an unfortunate sexual turn, but we have to roll with it. Golden Freddy's mechanic is so simple, yet easily the most annoying one we've seen yet. All he'll do is at random appear right in front of you. When he does, all you need to do is turn around and he'll leave. You might be wondering how that would ever become a challenge under any circumstance. Well, that's where we need to start talking about the rest of the character's AI being ramped up to the fucking moon during this section, because it's insane. The rest of the characters during this night move around so quickly and will be in your office almost at all times, meaning that your RAM usage is going to be through the roof for the first time throughout your playthrough. And who's going to be there to interrupt you while trying to get the animatronics out of your office and trying to get your RAM down? Golden Freddy will be there. That's who, at all times, to make sure your blood is boiling as much as possible. No 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 no. Bonnie, go away, bro! I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. Fuck! 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 Oh my god, 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 oh my fucking god. Oh my god, my RAM is so fucking high. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, fuck. But that's really all this section has to offer. Really did a 180 in terms of difficulty, and I like it a lot considering the other sections of this game have been so piss easy I was able to film them half asleep. Chapter 5 gets a little confusing as I started to become aware that we are likely switching between the POVs of two different characters and have been throughout the game. It seems like we know we've been playing as Henry several times, and we're doing so during this section as well. But if we're playing as Henry during this section, then it must mean we're not playing as Henry during the repeating night sections. To start, this night begins with a note telling us that Fazbear's is closing after the rumors about the missing children. We all know how this goes. What gets weird is that during this section, which keep in mind is 5 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., we have to play through an entire night from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., which means that this section of the game has to have happened at a different time. We know that Henry's plan is to plant sound chips in the robots so that Michael tampers with them. Then he'll fire Michael. William will dismantle the robots and then free them or something. I don't know, it's a bit confusing, and I'm more than a bit dumb. Let's actually talk about what we have to do during this section and why I actually shouldn't be explaining it to you because I'm not even sure what I did. Basically, we have two doors to our left and right that we can close. Doing so drains our power. Throughout this night, all of the four characters will attempt to get into our office to void us of our insides, which is just not something we're looking forward to. When they get to the door, you'll hear fast footsteps. All you have to do is hold the door closed until you hear slow footsteps. However, if that's all you'll do, the characters will be at your door too frequently and you'll run out of power. So that's where the PC in front of us comes in handy. Using it, we can do two things. The first is scanning the entire building to see where the threats are at, and the second is an audio lure that you can play in any room. Let me be completely open and honest with you guys right here. I have no fucking idea the proper way to use these lures. Every time you do an action on the PC, you have to wait 6 seconds for the tools to refresh. At first, I thought I should spam lure one central area to get everyone in one spot and keep them there. But apparently, that's bad, as I was told from a tip after dying. So then, I'm not gonna lie, I just started spamming the audio lure all through a bunch of different rooms and random areas, and doing that just worked. Oh, hey, look at that. That was kinda tough. I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know what I was doing with the audio lure. I really wish I could provide a strategy here, but I really can't. I'm guessing I just got lucky because there was literally no critical thinking coming from my head during this section. But with that, surviving until 6 a.m. will complete this half-hour section of the overall game. Again, I said this part is confusing as fuck. Henry mentions the plan to kill William is almost ready, and at least I'm pretty sure William's saying it because this cutscene starts with I am. But at the same time, a few lines later, the person talks about finding more pages, which sounds like something our non-Henry player was doing, so I literally have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm really just here to talk about the gameplay, so let's do that instead and continue. Moving on to 4:30, we've got yet another typical night section to talk about. And I can't lie to you, not much to say here. No new threats are added, but holy shit, do the threats that already exist really start to ramp up. The RNG in this section really starts to show on this night, as I would have a character at my window, at my door, down my pants, in my dick, pretty much constantly, which gave me almost no time to ever delete the RAM. It took me only 2 attempts to beat this section, but the insane contrast between how aggressive they were on the first attempt versus the second is drastic and should not be overlooked. This was some crazy bullshit, but once again, nothing new is actually introduced, so we can move on to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is by far probably the most interesting one we've talked about so far. It begins with a cutscene, one that should be all too familiar to us as FNAF fans. So just for you guys, fuck talking about it, let's take a look at it together.
So, this is it. It's time to end what William has done. It's time to end their suffering. Those little souls trapped in this labyrinth. I've gathered them up in here, and I can finally destroy them. I've found the ones that have yet to be destroyed and set free. For instance, those little children, the ones that come together as a group on a daily basis. I've always wanted to see them every single day. They'd always brighten up the atmosphere in Circus Baby's Pizza World. Every day, they'd come to play with all of the animatronics. Every employee, employer, and manager knew the name of those 3. But ever since William made his poor design choices, things were never going in the right direction for them. On the very next day, they all disappeared. I'd never realized that William could create such abominations. I realized there was a reason why Funtime Freddy had a huge tank. It was quite obvious. And no wonder the other 2 were always active every now and then. Not to mention Circus Baby. She was brought outside on the first day and was forced to stay inside the next day. It's such a misery, to be honest. I wasn't the only one who saw Circus Baby capture Elizabeth. Now, her soul is trapped inside of her. I wouldn't forget my daughter as well. No more shall I let her suffer as one of William's creations. This place is where everything shall end. A maze with no exit. A labyrinth with no prize. They don't even realize they are trapped. For some of them, I believe there is peace and perhaps more. Although, for you, William, the darkest pit of hell is ready to swallow you whole. You will keep burning and burning along with the creations of your own. This is where the story ends. For my daughter, the other innocent children, and William, this ends for all of us. End communication.
God, it doesn't matter how many times I hear the FNAF 6 Henry speech. Every single time I hear it, it gives me chills. Easily one of the best monologues in gaming history, right up there with the definition of insanity speech from Voss. Try to find a better speech, I fucking dare you. Anyways, on to what we actually have to do during this section after that cutscene. Well, it's very weird, to say the least. In it, we play as the puppet, wandering through a dark forest. Scattered around are the 5 souls of the missing children, each with a color above their head. We know that at this point, we're playing as Charlie, Henry's daughter. Obviously. After a bit of searching, we're told to find all of the magic to set them free. Hidden around the forest are several weird magic orbs. After collecting 3, we can begin to set the children free. We do so by finding 5 colored cupcakes around the map, and taking each colored cupcake to its respective colored child. Pause. That sounds terrible. Anyways, after doing so, we hear from Henry again. He thanks his daughter for saving the children, boasts about William finally being gone. He mentions he has all the Freddy files.
He said it! He said it!
And with that, we're ready to move on to the final part of our shift, wherein after we should hopefully have the cops arrive. Because if you recall, that's literally the first thing we did. Call the police, and they're somehow still not here yet, which is completely crazy, I will add. But who cares? Let's move on to the final shift. And here we are at the final chapter of the game. What's new to talk about in this final section? A cool final boss fight night? No, it's nothing new. Same shit, different day, really. But what is interesting is what happens afterwards. Henry arrives at some door. I assume it's the door to the building. He says way too much shit nobody cares about. Like deadass, he talks for so fucking long. Bro just recaps the whole game. It was so fucking boring, I'm not even gonna put you guys through it. Point is, he collected all the Freddy files, which helped him remember what William did or something, and now William's dead. Cool. Children are free. Great. Now all we have left to do is stop Fazbear Entertainment from ever coming back. How is he going to do that? Well, lucky us, that's not our fucking problem to figure out because Henry opens the doors and the credits roll and the Freddy files comes to a close. Wait. Hold up. Freeze frame. What about the cops? Do we not remember that this game began with a phone call to the police? Where the fuck are they? Were we Henry the entire time? Or are we jumping back and forth between two people? And if we were Henry the entire time, where the fuck are the cops? Why did we call them if we ended up leaving the building by ourselves anyways? What the fuck is going on? Also, if that wasn't a big enough of a fuck you, this game actually still isn't done. After the credits finish rolling, the fucking creator of the game starts talking to us and goes on a whole fucking monologue about having to do a whole bunch of shit to do something. I have no fucking idea. I was hardly paying attention. Basically, we have to go back to an earlier chapter with a locked door, find a key, open the door, but not before going to another chapter where we typed in a code and instead type in his name. Whose name? I have no fucking clue. Then open the door, go to another chapter to a room that we never did anything in, find another key or something, then play 4 minigames in the extras menu, but do something specific in them to find a key in all 4, then go to the survival mode of the game, which isn't even made, by the way. Click the bottom of the screen on an invisible fucking button, then you're teleported to a room with 4 keyholes and a door. Put the 4 keys from the minigame in the holes, unlock the door, and then fucking something happens. Do I have any idea what happens? No, not at all. Well, luckily for us, I found a guy that actually did it. Shout out to Tanzi Natali for actually doing all this bullshit so that I didn't have to. Basically, there's a final boss fight with a character named Null, and it's just like a bullet hell, except shitty. Then the creator talks to us again. Apparently, the creator of the game inserted himself into the game as the Red Freddy, who apparently isn't even Golden Freddy, it's just the fucking developer. He says he can, like, change the AI of everything or something. Guys, I'm gonna be so honest, I just don't fucking give a shit. If you guys are curious as to what happened after the Null fight, go watch Tonsi's video about it. Holy shit, I just don't fucking care. But that's all the Freddy Files has to offer. Overall, I do think this game is actually pretty cool. I love the idea of mixing in night sections with the little mini games, and even though lore-wise this game is a confusing clusterfuck, I think from a gameplay standpoint, it was still pretty cool. Even if the gameplay is easy as fuck, at least there's something different to do all the time. Also, the pixel art style is super charming, so that's nice too. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game actually has no flaws whatsoever and is actually the best FNAF experience ever made? Let me know in the comments below. In my FNAF Showtime video, I asked you guys what your favorite mechanic from any FNAF fan game was and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Rat Waffles. They said the ghost mechanic from Juniors, and I have to agree. I'm a hardcore Juniors glazer, I can't even lie, and you can see my review of it on this channel after this video. Subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to my super fan channel members. You guys keep my electricity running so I can play FNAF more. Go follow my Instagram, Dxtr Gray, for live updates, a peek into my life, and some clips as well. Go buy yourself a Skags plushie before they're gone forever. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!